And now, the starting lineups for the Keeping It Real show. From Oak Point, Texas, the Kamikaze Cowboy, the Tokyo Tex, the Sukiyaki Jockey, the MOT, the Man of Trail, Tim Kamara. And from the home of the San Antonio Spurs, the captain of the team, the man with the dream, the man behind the wheel at Keeping It Real, Brad Jewett.
1, 2, go. Here we go. We're on tonight. Brad Jewett, he was a little busy and he couldn't get his chores done in time. So it's all about me and Marky tonight, and I love it. So welcome to the Keep It Real show. We have a great show tonight. We are so honored to have Mr. Mark Schaefer with us tonight. Let me just do a little intro here before we run his intro. The other day I was flying back from a clinic from Gainesville, Florida, and I looked on Facebook and I saw Mark Schaefer was flying in from Milano, and I started laughing. I said, "This is where we always meet, is at a airport," because his parents only live like 20 minutes from my house, 30 minutes, and we always meet at some airport, whether it be Frankfurt, Belgium, or Austria. Australia we met, but never here in Texas. So I ran to his gate to meet him, but then I had to let him go through immigration and stuff, and I met him in baggage claim. But I said hi to him, and then I said, "Why don't you come on our show this week?" So I was super excited to get him on. So without any further ado, Kona Cam, let's run his intro. Hello, Mark Schaefer.
Hey, how are you?
There you go. Thank you so much for coming to my show tonight. I really appreciate that.
It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Oh, sir, thank you so much. So, you came in from Italy and then you flew to Tulsa today?
Yeah, I came to see my friend Jeff Ray.
Yeah, there you go. So, when's the last time you've been to the USA? A couple weeks,
about
month ago?
About 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Glad to have you back. You know,
nice to be back.
First thing I'm going to talk to you about is your miles, because I'm so envious of how many miles you have. Why don't you tell everyone how many miles you have and your status, because I love it.
Well, I'm right hitting 7 million with American, and I got about another million with other airlines through Europe and Australia. But
I love it.
So it's about 8 million total, and I think that equivalates to 320 revolutions around the Earth.
So here I am with my 713,000 American miles, and you've got 8 million. I'm so envious of you. What a journey. How's everything in Italy?
Italy's great.
Yeah,
it's it's tightened down like everywhere else, but it's a great country to live in.
And I think I saw your wife was in tonight. She's watching the show.
If she's watching the show, it'd be about 3 o'clock in the morning, I think.
I know. So my little sidebar here is when I go to Europe and Tina calls me, she gets off work at 7:30. This is the time she calls me. It's crazy. All right. So I'm just used to that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, let's everyone on our show, I love to talk the history about everybody, and I love to kind of probe and see where you guys came from. So why don't you help us and start about where you're born and tell us about your childhood a little bit.
Well, I started in Pennsylvania. I was born in Pennsylvania, and as a youth, you know, I showed through Pennsylvania, New York, Ohio, and that was pretty much my entire youth career was through the Northeast.
And how did you learn to ride? Like,
well,
your
my
parents start
mother
you?
my mother always provided, you know, a young horse, and you know, we would, you know, break it and get it ready to show. And at that time of my life, my favorite video was Jody Gallion's Western Pleasure video. So I really
Love
enjoyed
that.
watching that, and I learned a lot from it. But just, you know, a lot of trial and error.
Well, when you were young, did you show anything besides pleasure, or did you show halter? And did you do the all around stuff? You do any of those other events?
Well, of course, I had a pony. I had a pony named Natonka Stormcloud, and of course, we did everything. We barrel raced, and
Yeah.
we did the trail. We did the hunt seat act. We did every class you could do.
When that gate opens up, you're in, huh?
We were in, yeah.
I love that. I love it. How about, okay, so as a youth, did you show at some youth worlds, or did your tri-state area? How'd that go again?
No, I never really got out of the tri-state area. Basically, just showed a lot of regional competition.
Okay, so how about schooling then? Can you tell us about your schooling?
I graduated high school, went to college. The idea was to go to university, to Penn State. Actually, was accepted to Penn State, and I got a job offer in Oklahoma. And the day I turned 18, I decided to defer my acceptance in Penn State and deferred it for a year. And that's when I moved to Oklahoma to Purcell.
And that was in the little Nissan you were telling me about?
Day I turned 18, I packed all my stuff up in a little Nissan, a little hatchback Nissan that my father gave to me. It was like a $600 car. And most of the space in my car was my stereo system. So I think my speakers, you know, back then you had those really big speakers. So
Right,
I had the receiver and the amplifier and the big speakers, and that took about half the car up. But yeah, sure enough, the day I turned 18, I headed south, went to Purcell, Oklahoma to work for Wes Weatherall.
So can you talk about, was it Rusty Miller that was your impact that kind of got you into Wes's place?
Yeah, as I showed youth through that tri-state area, Rusty Miller kind of took me under his wing, and he at that time he had a lot of horses, and he was doing a lot of different things, and he would always give me tips what I should do and how I could improve, and finally when I turned, you know, when I got to be 17, 18, he says, if you ever want to go somewhere, let me know and I'll get you set up. And sure enough, he got me set up with Wes Weatherall, and I didn't know who he was. I didn't know him. And so anyway, I took a shot and drove south.
Wow. So when you move south and you head for Oklahoma, not only you're going to work for Steve or intern for Steve, you're going to go to school also, right?
Wes. I started to work for Wes.
My bad. Sorry, Wes. My bad. I love Wes.
Steve, he's the next guy.
Right. So you go to Wes. I know I got backwards. So, but you're going to work for Wes as an intern first, right?
Yeah. Well, you know, I was a stall cleaner, barn sweeper, and saddler, and of course I got the prime stock for that first 6 months. I had no idea what I was doing, so I didn't expect to get very much.
And then, but you went to school too, didn't you? At the same time,
at University of Oklahoma in Norman. So
yeah.
I did night school, and I think I took on nine credit hours a semester, which is almost full time. And so I did that at night and worked for Wes during the day. that really gave me no life. I basically had a working life and a college life in the evening, but I had to do the chores in the evening. So half the time I was going to my classes smelling like manure and feed and horse feed, and it just wasn't the typical college life you would think of.
Tell me about your major then. How did that go about?
Well, I wanted to major in electrical engineering, so that's what I studied, and I worked for Wes for 2.5 years and did the university for that long, so I never did get my engineering degree, but that's what I was pursuing.
So working for Wes, and I love Wes too, tell us how that was the introduction to make some more money and start your clinicing on the weekends. You want to talk about that?
Well, first of all, I got to Wes's, and Wes was running, a lot of horses at that time, and he was really on top of the game, and so we got to see a lot of nice horses. We got to go to a lot of horse shows, and of course, I only had one day off a week, which was Sundays when we weren't going to horse shows. So once I kind of established a little bit of education, we went to a lot of horse shows, so I got to meet a lot of people around Oklahoma and Texas, and that tri-state area, and I started to get some connections, and I had a few people say, can you come help us? Can you come help us on a Sunday or whatever? And so, long story short, what I ended up doing is on Sundays, my day off, I would gather about 10 people. I charge them $125 for the day. I had my little VHS camera with a tripod, and I offered someone a free video series of that day if they would run the tripod. And so I ended up, getting experience of working with people and working with horses that you don't know. And that's really where the whole clinic thing was born, was in Oklahoma, right, working for Wes Wetherell. Right. So.
Well, I think, I look back and when I was clinicking in my early years, like in the 90s and stuff, and at first, I'll tell you the truth, my side, I knew how to teach it. I just didn't know how to clinic it. I'm going to say Cleve helped me a lot back in the day, okay? Because Cleve was ahead of the game here for me in my era. And he showed me a few things, and I cliniced with him a couple of times, and I watched him do his thing. And it really gave me a better how to sell it to the people. He was always saying to me, just teach them one thing every session, okay? And that will pay for it, okay? Yeah. You don't have to teach them the whole world because you can't. When I was young, I tried to fix everything. That was stupid. You can't. If you're down for 3 hours, you can't fix everything. But you're hard-headed. I thought you could, okay? But I learned better. I learned through experience. Don't go down that street. So your clinicing evolves, right? That's the introduction to it, and then is this where Steve comes in a little bit too? Then,
well, Steve would always go on a prospect journey, every winter and look for prospects, up through Oklahoma and around Texas, and he always made Wes Wetherell's a stop because Wes had a pretty good breeding program. Wes, at that time, he was married to Wendy Wetherell, and in fact, this famous horse that we have in our industry, RL Best of Sudden, Wes actually has a lot to do with. Wes and Wendy have a lot to do with how that horse came about, because they owned the mare, the grandmother of RL Best of Sudden, which her name was Zips Illusion. And Zips Illusion produced Sudden Impulse. So when I was working for Wes, he produced, he had Zips Illusion, and she was crazy. we never got her shown. She just, I can remember to this day saying to Wes, when I was working her in the round pen, it was like, what why are we working with this horse? She's nuts. And sure enough, she stamped the industry. I mean, she's responsible for really, a big part of what happened to the industry. So you never can tell about those mares. But getting back to your question about Steve, because Wes had a good reputation for breeding young horses, Steve always made it a stop. And so that's how I met Steve. And sure enough, he offered me a job when he come through, and I actually turned him down the first year. And then the second year he come through, he offered me a job again. And I thought, nah, it's been 2 years with Wes. And so I thought it was time to move on. So I took him up on the offer. Anyway, that's how I got to Aubrey, Texas. So I was probably 1990, 1991. 1990 is when I moved to Steve's.
Well, I'm not sure we didn't talk about this the other day, but Mr. Johnson, David Johnson asked, what about the time you worked with Jerry Stanford? Is there something that I should ask?
Well, that's a great question, and he's on my list to talk about, but he's a little bit later down the road. So we're going to get to him.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that. Let's come back to that.
I got to say, when I got to Oklahoma, I didn't know anybody, and you know who my first friend became?
Who's that?
Shane Dowdy.
Oh, SD, yeah. Really?
So Shane Dowdy became, actually Shane Dowdy and I were best friends for a very long time. Met Jim Kaiser. So actually Shane Dowdy and Jim Kaiser were living together, and I would go visit them. They were both working for Clint Haverty. So it was me, Jim Kaiser, and Shane Dowdy tearing it up on the weekends, and we had an incredible time. So anyway, so that kind of, you bring up Jerry Stanford. My relationship with Shane opened up a lot of doors. Shane is like an Einstein of horse training, and he actually was back then too. And he actually really helped me a lot as a really young rider. I learned a lot from him. We're the same age, but he was so far ahead of everybody else. It was incredible. So I did learn a lot, but we had a great time together, and it really opened up the doors where I got to meet Cleve and Jerry Stanford, and that all evolved throughout our relationship.
I'll tell you what was fun for me is because I respect Shane so much with his talent, but he let me give him a lesson going over the poles. But it was intriguing because he had his theories and I had my theories, and we met in the middle somewhere, and he was fun to teach. He's a very intelligent guy, and all I had to do is kind of give him the formula, and he went and practiced like a good little soldier boy. So I mean, I really like Shane. So
wow, he's a special human being.
For sure. So let's go then to when you moved and worked for Steve. Can you before you go into there, can you kind of tell me? I asked you the other day who were like the other people in your age group, whether it be Shane that was working for Steve or was ahead of you from Steve and behind you.
Well,
can you talk about
in that circle when I got there? I actually took Kevin Lord's place, but that was the time of Donnie Riccuti. Donnie Riccuti was in that time frame. Doug Pratt. I think actually Doug Pratt and I lived together for maybe a month, but he ended up taking my place. So those would probably be your most notable names: Kevin Lord, Donnie Riccuti, and Doug Pratt. Those were the kind of the people who surrounded my time frame as far as working.
Yeah, you're very right. So how was it working for Steve, and that's where you started showing more horses? I mean, you showed some with Wes, and then is this kind of how one of your notches of your career started?
Well, I mean, the thing with Steve is, at that time of the year, that era, I mean, the quality of horse flesh that was in his barn was just incredible. And he hired me to be his assistant trainer. So I showed up and I got to ride a lot right away, and I got to ride a lot of really nice horses. And they kind of did their job. You put them on a lunge line and they did what they were supposed to do. They were quite natural. So what I really learned a lot from Steve is a lot of the finesse and the feel, because you were sitting on horses that could teach you that type of feel and finesse. And I tried to do a really good job for Steve, and in exchange, he started to let me show.
So, how about your first world championship? I mean, maybe Kona, that's our first picture that we have. We can throw up there, and maybe, I don't know if this is what we were talking about the other day.
Okay, well, the two horses you see in this picture, the one that I'm sitting on, that horse I earned my first national championship. That was in 1991. I know the picture says 1995, but that horse I showed as a 2-year-old at the Nationals in Oklahoma City, and I think I was 20 years old, maybe 21, and I won the 2-year-old deal there at the Nationals, and the horse on the other side that Steve's sitting on, that's a horse that same year. I showed in 1991. I showed in the Senior Western Pleasure, and that horse name was Destination, and I won the Senior Western Pleasure on him. So those were my first 2 wins of my career. Was back then, and Steve obviously had these horses in training and allowed me to show them. So that's that picture. So the picture says 1995. We ended up, keeping these horses. They were long-time horses, long-time customers. And the cool thing was, we came back in 1995. We both showed those horses in the Senior Western Pleasure again, and we were first and second.
So the first world championship, 91, 92, around there, is that what you told me?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're like 21 years old, like that?
Yeah.
So, again, I'll ask you again, what's that feel like to be 21 years old and Aaron Moses kind of thing here going on, like when you're so young and there's so many older horse trainers established and you win? I mean, how does that feel? Do you get the respect? Were they happy for you? Were they looking behind their shoulder about you?
Yeah, well, of course everyone's happy for you at the beginning. No, but obviously it was a dream come true, and it's something that I'll always remember. But for me it was just the beginning, and I my vision was just to keep moving forward. So
yeah,
and to continue doing that, and that's really what I set out to do.
So it was 2 years or so for Wes and 2.5 years for Steve, like that?
Yeah, I did 2.5 for Wes, 2.5 for Steve. So I put about a 5-year apprenticeship in. It's not long enough, for any of the young people out there listening. 5 years really wasn't enough, because when I actually, had I went to Storm King Ranch after that. It was, Steve Heckman's biggest client at the time, and they actually owned Principal Investment, and they opened up shop there in Aubrey, and they needed a horse trainer. So they worked stuff out, and they hired me to be their head honcho. And I showed up there. There was 30 head of yearlings to break, coming 2-year-olds. I had absolutely no idea what to do. So, but I had the work ethic, and I had the persistence, and so anyway, we made something out of it, and I worked for Storm King for about 3 years, and that gave me the opportunity to build a clientele. I started getting outside customers, and probably the most valuable thing of Storm King Ranch was not only having so many horses and getting a proper paycheck, was that they had the contract for the back cover of the Quarter Horse Journal, and that was back when a lot of people advertised in the Quarter Horse Journal. So it was kind of the Bible for the horse industry for many years during then, so I was always plastered on the back cover or the inside back cover
Yeah.
with horses, and it really helped branded my name to a pretty high level, for how the industry works. So that was probably one of the most valuable things that I got out of Storm King Ranch was the publicity during that time of my career.
How about just your first couple years go by yourself? Did you have anyone working for you? Did you have any assistants?
Eric Anderson.
Eric. Yeah.
Eric Anderson came to Storm King Ranch, and he was my assistant trainer the whole time I was at Storm King, and we became really good friends, and obviously he did a great job too, and he started the show with me, and we had a great relationship. We had a really good time, and he ended up taking my place after I left Storm King. He became the trainer of Storm King.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so take us one more step further then. When you leave Storm King Ranch, how does it go about?
Well, actually, when I left Storm King, I needed a place to go, and at that time, Doug Lilly was one of the head honchos of Aubrey and Pilot Point, and he had a really beautiful ranch, and he was just full of horses and incredible horseman. And anyway, he offered to lease stalls to me, so it was just like 2 miles up the road from Storm King. So anyway, I moved 23 horses from Storm King over to Doug's, and Mark Schaefer Show Horses was created, and so I just started working out of Doug's ranch, and it was just quite amazing to be in Doug Lilly's space, because he incredible horseman, but he ran a really tight ship. I mean, the grounds looked like a golf course. The hedges were trimmed. The horses were clipped. There were horses, two or three horses being clipped every day. It didn't matter if they were going to a show or not. Every horse that you walked through that barn, they were clipped like they were ready to go to a horse show. Manes pulled, tails done. So I really got to experience the way things were done on a really high level. Steve's was that way too. So most of my early career, I was really surrounded by people who had a really fine attention to detail.
I think you shared this with me the other day about cleaning your truck and trailer, shining the tires and stuff before you went to the horse show at the last gas station. Can you talk about your theory, not theory, but how you guys did that?
Yeah, I mean, and this comes from the people that I, was around, Wes and Steve and Doug. Their trucks were immaculate. You'd think they were never driven, and the same with the trailers. And so anyway, I kind of took on those habits, and no matter, and we did a lot of horse shows. So it was always the last fuel stop before we rolled into a horse show. We had to water the horses, hay the horses, and that was the assistant's job. My job was to get out the McGuire's detail, the spray detail, and I wiped down the truck, and I would freshly armor all the tires, and that would be our last stop. So when we rolled into the horse show, looked like our truck and trailer was just coming out of the detail shop.
Right. I mean, I so hit the spot. Now, I'm not the clean freak, okay? Tina is, but all these guys, I mean, that talk about your trailers, your advertisement, your stall barn aisle, and your stall fronts is your advertisement, right? I mean, I've watched you at the horse shows. I watch your bridle racks on the pictures. I mean, you're pretty freaky like that. Like, you want everything to look commercial.
I think most people think it's a little bit over the top, but that's the way it is. But you, Tim, I don't want to interrupt you. You mentioned Tina. I actually met your wife when I was working for Steve.
Really? I heard she came through and she lived by you all right next door. I don't know how that worked.
She came down from Canada for the World Show, and she brought her. I think she had a pleasure horse, but she came and rode at Steve's, and I can remember giving her a couple of lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know she gave you you gave her lessons. How funny is that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
You didn't give her any trail lessons though, did you?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think I think I've given her one trail lesson in my life. That's a little trivia here. You know, Tina Vollmer doesn't like trail, you guys, so that's okay. But like
Yeah, I can
14 years
understand.
later, right here we are.
Yeah.
One sidebar. I was going to tell you. I think your mother is watching tonight.
Oh, good. Hi, Mama.
I saw her name pop up, so I was really excited to have your mom watch us tonight. So,
I love my Mama.
how about this, Conan? Why don't you show the picture of the ones with all the magazine covers I liked? What do we call that? You want the 8 pictures?
Okay.
Hang on, I'm gonna flip this picture, and I mean this one. I love this picture. Can you mention some of these horses? I mean, I'm sure you have so many great horses that you've ridden. Someone asked, "Who is your favorite horse?" And I know you can't call one out to be your favorite unless you can. I wouldn't hold you to that, but I mean,
no,
memorable.
really, that's a group of 8 pictures there, and I can promise you, between those horses, there's probably 50 world champions between those set of horses.
Yeah.
Those, I have a little Hall of Fame section on my website, and I think all those horses are on the Hall of Fame section. But
yeah,
they all had hundreds and hundreds of points, and back then the points weren't that big of a deal. It was more the titles, and they all had they all had over 10 national world championship titles. They were all really nice horses.
And it's funny because this is just a section of your Hall of Fame. Where I mean, you've ridden how many horses? I mean, I read it somewhere. How many horses? And let's go with horses. I mean, you've ridden so many horses in your lifetime, right? Don't you agree? I mean,
wow, as we all have by this time.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the 100X thing, okay? And how did you? I mean, just because it came up to be 100 and you branded that a little to yourself, or tell me how that becomes the 100X thing.
Well, yeah,
I love it.
Once I hit that 100 world champions with the show career, I think by that time I was trying to make a little bit of an updated rebranding of Mark Schaefer, and that's where the 100X came from, and it's stuck. It's one thing that never really wore off, and we still kind of take advantage of that logo and that type of credential. When I retired in 2014 from the horse training and showing aggressively, I think we calculated. I had the association do the research, and there's 287 world and national champions that I occurred, and they actually told me it's was the winningest exhibitor, winningest member of the Appaloosa Horse Club in Western Pleasure for the history of the record keeping that they had.
I'm very proud to know you, and I'm very proud of that fact. I'm honored that you're on my show tonight, or our show, Bradford. It's you're such a normal guy when I hang out with you, right? It's so fun to just have dinner with you and pass you by and meet you at the airports and stuff. And yet you're so humble, but you have such a resume. I mean, an overwhelming resume. I mean, back in your little Nissan, did you ever visualize something like this? Is this how big you thought it was going to be? Or
I thought I was going to be an engineer.
Yeah, I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
My roommate was an electronic engineer, and you're going to go work for Lockheed or make spaceships or something.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Here you are, the all-time winningest Appaloosa. I mean, I do that plus the mile. I go, wow, that's incredible.
It's been a blessing.
Yeah, I mean, what a great legacy you have. Okay, Kona, I'm going to give me a little music here. Okay, we're going to take him to the rapid fire. Kona, Mark, I'm going to do my little rapid fire questions here. 10, 11 questions that you haven't heard before, and you just give me your great answer that you're going to give me. Okay.
All
Are
right,
you ready? Then
Yeah.
we'll go to the commercial for break.
let's do it.
Question number 1. Name something you miss about Texas when you're in Italy.
The weather.
The weather. Name your favorite breed of dog.
Blue Heeler.
Name your favorite U2 song you like to hear in concert.
Ultraviolet.
Name a professional sports team you like to watch.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Name something you've learned while dealing with the public throughout your career.
Bite your tongue.
Do you have a lucky shirt or color you like to wear when showing?
Blue.
Name a movie you have watched on American Airlines.
Up in the air.
Okay. What belt buckle do you currently wear showing your clip?
I wear my 100X buckle.
Yes. Have you ever had anybody fall off or cry at your clinic?
Almost every day.
I
Oh, just kidding. Not everybody.
do.
I can count on one hand how many times we've had an ambulance come into the arena.
Okay. They fall off and cry all the time in my clinics. I hate that. Name your favorite country to visit and why.
I love Italy, but I really enjoy Australia and New Zealand. That's a second, third home for me down there. I love those two countries. They're amazing people. I really appreciate that area of the world.
Okay, last question. What horse's picture is in your office that has great memories?
Champagne and Paradise.
Good job, Mark Schaefer. You're like pretty spot on here. Couldn't trick you tonight. Okay, Kono, you'll bring us a couple commercials and we'll come back. We have so much more to talk about tonight. Great job, Mark.
If you're looking for a smarter way to ship, look to Unishippers. We've been helping small to medium-sized businesses cut their shipping costs for more than 30 years. You'll get significant savings with UPS and more than 65 LTL freight carriers by leveraging the group buying power of our 90,000 plus customers. Unishippers is a one-stop shop for reliable shipping, significant savings, exceptional personal service, and easy online logistics management. Let Unishippers deliver for you. Call Mark and his team today.
We're just about ready to get underway. Our next exhibitor is at the gate.
They're trying to prove that they belong
They
here.
really have their eyes set on that podium, but this pair just hasn't been consistent.
Championship titles are elusive.
This is a difficult field.
It all comes down to this. Here we go.
When years of work come to seconds of action, give yourself every edge. Get rebound technology for faster muscle recovery with ProForce from Nutrena.
Here at Rod Patrick, we take the fit process very, very seriously because we know the importance in your performance on how you're fit. So come in, let's give you the opportunity. Tell me what you're experiencing. Tell me what your challenges are. And I know together we're going to find the right answer, and you're going to be happier than you've ever been with your boots. Come see me, and thank you.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Mark Schaefer, how we doing?
Good.
Yeah. Okay. So let's keep going, Mark. We still got so much of your stuff to talk about. Where do you want to start? Did you want to start somewhere? Where am I going?
Well, where were we? We were.
Well, we're kind of, we're in this area where, I mean, you can talk about
the brand, I think.
Yes, for sure. Like we can kind of go in like making your first video and your clinicking and all that kind of stuff. You want to do that?
Yeah, I think that we can go there.
Tell me what the idea was to do your first video series and kind of start that.
Well, I just felt like I needed, I was already kind of doing clinics by this time, and I needed some type of reference for these people to have, and so that's kind of how it started. And by that time in my career, I did have a little bit of a program that the kind of a scheduled program that you could follow, and that was quite valuable to have, because people could actually say, oh, okay, I can follow that. I got to do this. I got to do that. And so anyway, we put it all on video, and Casey Montgomery, who I did do in my early career, as I advertised a lot. I had the back covers, the inside back covers. I did corporate sponsorships for the major shows, and I probably advertised more than I had to, but I really kind of saturated myself into that part of the industry. And KC Montgomery was and still is my guy that I go to make promotion and do things. And he did my videos, and he did all of our ads, and created all the logos. And he's, I called Shane Dowdy an Einstein of the horse training. I'd say Casey Montgomery would be the Einstein of advertisement and helping me build a brand. And so anyway, so he helped me with these videos. And the first one I did, I still cannot believe the success that it's had. I sold over $1 million worth of that first video.
Right.
I'm not sure how old that video is, but it still sells. And
right
now we're streaming. So we sell this, we sell this as a stream, and people still buy it. It's vintage, but there's still a lot of good content in it. And from there, we made other videos and DVDs, and they're all streaming as well. But that is probably what gave me the turbo power of the clinics, because I had something that backed up what I did at the clinic. So when I walked away from the clinic, they were able to have this video, and they could have a reference point to come back and actually stick with the program. Because what happens at clinics, people get inspired for that 3 or 4 days that you're there, and then you leave, and it's very easy for people to go back into their old habits. So this having this type of information on a DVD, it kind of kept my name in their head, and they kind of stayed on to the program. So there were a lot of advantages to doing it. It's probably the best thing I ever did in my career.
Let me say it this way. I know you've traveled to Europe a lot, in Australia, New Zealand, and those folk over in Europe and Australia, New Zealand are hungry for information. Hungry. They'll take everything they can get a hold of to listen to, and then when we're live and we go to Europe and we're live, it's like ambassadors of the event or ambassadors of what we do. And then the video, like I said, is the frosting. here, take this video after. I always try to coach, when I leave, I want you to be able to do it when I'm gone. I'm there for 2 days and then I'm leaving for a year. So I need to leave you with something that you can do, a rep you can do over and over. So when I come back, you're in a better spot than you were when I left you.
Absolutely.
I know. And I just see, you know, you have a tour, I have a tour. And once you have this base tour, it just grows. Someone from that clinic wants another clinic. If you went to Germany once, it branches into 3 more clinics for 3 different places.
Yeah.
And it's a gift and a curse, right? You're the victim of your success, okay? Because it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no because we like to help the people. We like the money. We like to help the people, but
the
we
people
like
are
what
so
we do.
nice.
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I got to say something about these clinics, that it's the clinic hosts that make this thing work. I mean, the amount of effort and responsibility that these people take on to run a clinic is incredible, because if they really, I mean, these aren't cheap things, and you got the facility, you got everything to put together, and they take it on, and these people don't make any money off of it. They do it because they have a passion for this, and
All right.
And I really got to shout out to the clinic host, because without
hang on a sec. Let me throw the picture up. Conan, throw the picture up of the host, okay? Of the groups and stuff like that, or the clinic host. You throw both those two up a little bit. I mean, you're right. I'm gonna let you continue on and talk about some of your. Can you just kind of randomly tell us some of the places you go to in Europe and Australia?
Yeah.
Like what town?
What's really happened is I've established relationships with hosts in many countries: Sweden, Finland, Australia, New Zealand, and these people take it on as something, is part of what they do on a yearly basis, and they organize it and they work it. I've got people in Australia that put people on payment plans. They've got a separate bank account to put deposits in every month, so people aren't hit with a big fee, when it comes to the time of the clinic. I mean, it's incredible the amount of effort that goes out with these clinic hosts. And I again, what I do and what you do, it's not possible without those people. And it's, I really have a huge appreciation to these people. It's really amazing. And a lot of them, you establish a really great relationship with them. I mean, you live in their homes. You look forward to seeing them. It's just, I can't say enough about how valuable that relationship is.
2 things I'll add to that. One, I concur. I mean, I've made great friends in Europe doing the trail tour and stuff like that. One, like you're saying, collecting the money, and then that one wants to like pull out the last night. My horse went lame or something happens, right?
All the time.
You have to you need to have a backup list, or you're out $300-500, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, what a stressful position for that host, right?
Absolutely.
And then two, well, food. I want to tell you, the food is a pain in the butt. How are you gonna feed those people in the stalls, right?
And then
the
alcohol that they have to provide.
and that too, and then the organizing the groups, getting them the right type of groups. That's the thing that I had to learn. You guys got to have the beginners here and the intermediates over here. You can't mix them so much, because it really makes my job hard. Just how you organize. You're talking my language. You respect those guys who really have the passion that they want the clinic for their kids, their wife, themselves, their clients. But it is so stressful and so hard, for sure. We come in there and try and knock it out, though.
Yeah,
they love us.
You end up, you do a really good job for these people, because the amount of effort that they've gone through.
Yeah, for sure. So from there, how about, okay, let's just keep going with this in this direction. How about Mechanics in Motion? How does that get born and stuff?
Well, if you think about it, kind of got an engineering brain and mind and a numbers mind, and that's kind of where I came up with the mechanic part, because really what's taught, what we do a lot in the clinics is teach people the mechanics of how the horses operate. If the horse is dropping the shoulder, okay, what part of the body went wrong that caused the horse to drop the shoulder? So that is where the mechanics came from. And of course, we're all doing this as we're moving. So that mechanics of motion came up, it's probably 20 years ago, and it's stuck, and it really hasn't been any reason to change it. I thought about it, but why change it? It's worked out well.
So can you tell me what happens between video number 1 and video number 2?
Basically, the second video, Pro Series 2, was about selecting a prospect and starting a prospect. And it took you to the first 90 days. And it's really special. Like, there's a part of it where we went to John McCarroll's, and actually John McCarroll's in the DVD. And so, I mean, we covered a pre-purchase on how to interpret it, and how your mindset should be when you're thinking about a pre-purchase. So, I mean, we covered that. We covered confirmation. We covered things that I learned from great horsemen like Jerry Stanford. It showed me some things about confirmation, and we really put a lot of things in there that I've learned from my experience. And then, of course, we basically did took you to the 90-day point from doing the driving, driving the horses and hobbling. The hobbling is a very important thing for horses, I believe. It's very controversial, but it's normally controversial because people who controverse about it don't really understand it. But so that's all in the second one. It's all about getting a great foundation on a young horse. And then the third one, the Evolution Series, it's kind of an evolved presentation of the first one to a more technical level. And of course, I think we did that one about 10 years later. And obviously I improved myself. So I was able to present the information more technically and more precisely. So that's really the three. I think there's eight discs between all the 3 DVDs. So it's a ton of information. But what's really been a big hit, I don't want to keep going on here, but what's really been a big hit is we have this thing called a theory book. And this theory book is just the beginning. There's a big project that we're working on now. And it's really probably be the biggest and probably the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. We'll probably have that done next year. But this theory book is about 80 some pages, and each page is an illustration of a specific maneuver or an exercise that we do. So people can actually see the illustration of what's going on with a detailed description. And it's all done in a kind of a chronological order. And that's been a huge hit, because what we do at the clinics is we do classroom twice a day. So we start the morning. We do about 1 to 1.5 hours of classroom, so people understand what we're going to do when we get in the arena. And that's really saved me a lot of time, and it's made me really become a more effective clinician, because people have a lot more confidence going into the arena because they know what they're supposed to be doing. And then after lunch, we do another little 30, 45-minute session, and we follow this theory book. And it's that's probably as valuable, if not more valuable, than the DVDs themselves. So people get a lot of advantage from having both. They get to watch it on film, and they also get it on paper. So that's really the collection that we have.
Like what you're talking about, My Trail Videos, we have a TV network, I guess we'd call it, where we have all our videos streamed too. The cost of a clinic or the cost of our videos is cheap compared to training. Okay. That's how I go, how much do you pay for a month of training? Okay. Versus a weekend or 5 hours of DVDs or whatever. I mean, it's a weird cheapness to it. Not that the product is cheap, but so inexpensive to get information from us that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, that's what's amazing about it.
But I think what a lot of people don't understand is 80% of the horse industry, and I'm referring to all levels, 80% of the horse industry that aspire to compete is do-it-yourselfers.
When
do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. When we had another example is virtual horse show. When we had the virtual horse shows, they all came out of the woodwork.
Absolutely.
People we never seen ever before.
80% of the industry.
Yes, they all showed up for $20 to come show.
Right.
It was the best game in the house, you know. And then we got to critique them. I mean, those 7 people paying $50 for a critique, and just to hear. I mean, I did a great job on my critiques. I did a lot, but I was helping them. People I wouldn't even know. I was trying to give my insight for $50, but it was easy. I mean, not easy, but I love that. I love that there's people out there like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant.
So, I mean, I think I'm going back to Bobby Avila too, is he was talking about we have to make money while we're sleeping, okay? You can't just be 9 to 5 or like a horse trainer. You can't make enough money to pay the bills. Right. You have to be making money while you're not doing anything, or you're sitting down, or you're eating dinner. The wheels have to be turning. And that's what I see. Yeah, and that's you, Bobby Avila, and myself. I guess we can do that, and that's how we're going to make it. And then we built this platform for the future when we retire. Right? You and I will retire someday, and we don't want our legacy to die. We want everyone to continue using our theories once we retire. I think. Okay. Let's keep going. At the end, we're going to tell you how to get your videos. Kona will put it on there. Easy, easy. Okay. Tell us right now. If you want to get your streams, your videos, your website, what is it?
Well, you know, without this being a promotional interview, but anyway, we have a great site. It's on the Shopify platform. It's I don't know if you know about Shopify, but it's an incredible platform and for e-commerce. So you can buy the streams, you can buy the combination of streams and hard copies. It's all there. It's just you Google the Mechanics of Motion and everything's there. We carry about 100 products on our site, and the site's been up for about almost 20 years. So we've just revised it this year to the Shopify platform, and we've had a lot of success. The streaming thing's the best thing we've ever could have done. Okay,
so I'm definitely going to promote your stuff. I have no problem doing that because I admire you. You inspire us to do it. You inspire us to get better. I mean, and help. I mean, yes, we're making money, but yes, we are providing this thing for the industry. We're helping so many people. I'm sure this is you, like me. We touch people we don't even know. They buy our stuff and we don't even know them. But we've helped.
I got to tell you, you don't realize that, at the beginning.
Oh yeah, no way. Yeah, you're right. But it's so fun when they come up to you and they tell you, "I bought your video. I watched your show. It was so helpful." You don't even know who I am, right? So that's super good stuff. You have Instagram and Facebook too?
Oh, it's all there. In fact, we've just hired a digital marketer, so we've got it all handled. So I do want to say one more thing about these clinics before we move on. But people say, don't you just want to ride in your own arena and ride your own horses and do that? And I did that for a long time, and I loved it. And I did love my peace. I loved going out to the pasture and having having my assistants bring the horses back and forth where I never had to come in the barn. And I loved being out there by myself. And be honest with you, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I just enjoyed that space. But really, what a lot of isn't mentioned is when you go to a clinic, and you know this, and I think we spoke about this before, but you show up somewhere, you show up to a group of 10, 20 people. These are people who want to be there.
Yeah.
And they've paid their money. They've got their ears open, and they have a really great energy. A very inspiring type energy, and you're with these people for 3, 4, 5 days, and there's never, you have emotional times because you get frustration because you don't understand something, but it's all in the good of being very positive. Right. The energy around this arena is incredible, so it's nothing but positive. And so of course you make these improvements with people, and you start to inspire people, and then you leave. And then the next day you show up in another arena, and you're in another group of people, totally different horses, but it's the same energy. And it's that really positive, inspiring energy that makes you want to be better. And I'm referring to myself. It makes me want to be better. It makes me want to learn how to communicate more. It makes you want to do your job because you're surrounded always by this positive energy. And there's a ton of value in that when you do this as many years as we've done it. Without this positive energy, I don't think neither one of us would be happy about doing our job. But the fact that energy is always around, it's really rewarding. And it allows you to evolve, not only as a clinician, as a horseman, but as a human being. You really start to evolve as a human being and become better with your communication and your connection with people.
It comes down to, there's a couple ones in your clinic usually that need a little bit extra time, and you're tired at the end of the day, but you know what, you're going to stay out there another half hour and help them after it's all done.
You do it. Absolutely.
Just wait. Let's let everyone finish, and then when they're finished, we're going to fix this a little bit, or find a better place to quit. We just do it. It's just how we do it. So yeah, props to you. We still got. I want to go backwards a little bit here because
we got to go to Jerry Stanford, David Johnson.
Yeah, that's where I want to go. That's where I want to go next. So why don't you talk about Jerry and how he helped you and influenced you a little bit?
Okay, so in probably the late 90s, early 2000, I was running my own ship, owned my own ranch. So I bought that ranch from Doug Lilly because we never went there. So Doug Lilly wanted to sell the ranch, so I bought it from him. And from that point, I had my own shingle. And it was just there were so many horses that we had. I think we peaked at about 113 head in training. I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, we had between 100 and 115 in training. I had horses everywhere. And I had 99, 103 stalls. I can't remember how many I had, but they were full of training horses. And so this was a point in time. I can't tell you that was a smart thing to do or what, but I did it. And I had 5 assistant trainers, and I think I had 6 Mexican workers, and it was a full-on operation. So I got to, and I did the books, I did the administration. So it got to where the business kind of took me over, and I actually lost focus of the art of training horses and became more of an administrator because, I did the payroll, I had to do the taxes, I had to pay the bills, and you end up getting stuck in the office and you couldn't really make it out. So that went on for about a year, and I started to realize I was slipping a bit on my abilities and my confidence on riding. And I got to know Jerry Stanford through Shane Dowdy, and I actually hired him to come for 10 days a month. And so he came and he lived with us. He lived for 10 days a month. And I can tell you, we did that for about 2 years. And it was probably the best thing I ever did in my career, especially during that time of my career, because he brought not only me, but my help, everybody that was working for me, brought us all back to the basics. We rode bareback. We rode rubber snaffles with the figure-8 noseband. If anybody has anything knowledge about a figure-8 noseband and a rubber snaffle bareback, it is the most aggravating feel that you could ever have. At least probably for a week or 10 days before you get used to it. But rubber snaffle and figure-8 noseband doesn't have much feel, and that was the point. She tried to get us back into our seat and back into our legs, and not relying on our hands, and which is a common story with a lot of people. So that was an amazing time. That was about a 2-year span, and we did horse shows together. He came to the horse shows, and I was really fortunate to have that time with Jerry Stanford, because not only did I learn a lot of horsemanship skills, but I learned a lot about what I forgot I knew, because he brought a lot of the basics back.
Yeah.
Like the driving, it was huge on driving. And I think everybody can relate to this who trains horses. You bring up the word drive the horses, and 9 times out of 10, somebody will say, yeah, I used to do that, but I don't do it anymore, but I used to do that. And so what Jerry did was he brought back what we used to do. And because what we used to do worked, and why we don't do it anymore, I have no idea. But that was so David Johnson, there's your story about Jerry Stanford, if you're still awake. But that was a great time of my career. That was late 90s, early 2000.
How about Tim and Katie Joe? Can we talk about them a little bit?
Well, here's the deal. Tim and Kate. So Tim and I we've known each other since we've been kids. And we actually showed together. Tim was from New York, and so we showed together up in that tri-state area. And so Tim and I both became professionals about the same time, and he was kind of my main competition. There were some others that were very competitive, but Tim and I bounced back and forth a lot at the shows. And we had that love-hate relationship. When I wasn't supposed to win and I did win, he would bitch about it, and he would go to the judges and say he's not supposed to win. And of course, we went back and forth. But through that time, we became really close. And the funny part of the story is I was visiting Tim in Florida. This is when we started to become really good friends, and not be rivals of each other. He was kind of courting Katie. In fact, I kind of sat with him at a bar. I think I remember the name of the bar, but he was thinking about marrying her, and he asked me, what I thought, and I told him that, the only way I knew Katie is because she was just some famous horse trainer, and I didn't really know her personally. I just knew her by her reputation and her name, and so. Anyway, we spent a little time together, and he asked me, what do you think? I think I'm going to marry her. He says, you think I should do it? And I said, absolutely. I'd do it in a heartbeat and never turn around, never look back. And so that's the story about, and from that point, my relationship, it wasn't just Tim and Mark relationship. It was Tim, Kate, and Mark relationship. We did a lot of things together. We did a lot of crazy things together, and they
super good
came to my wedding, and so they're an important part of my life, and there are a few people that I check in with when I arrive to the States, and Tim and Kate are one of them.
Wow. So how about, let's just go to your family then. Can you talk about your family and how you got married and everything?
Well,
and
I can tell you, I married into an incredible family. I met my wife many years ago. She's the best friend of one of my very good clients, Ann Clinicos, that lives in Venice. Her name is Anna Omadeo, and she does the jackets. She's probably the best jacket maker there is in the world. And so anyway, she introduced me to Kiara like, I don't know, 5, 8, 9 years ago. And I think there was some forces of nature that told me to kind of stay away. And then she showed up at a clinic in Torino about 5 years ago, and we met. We worked together a little bit, and after the clinic was over, she has a really tight relationship with her father, Piero. And at the end of the clinic, he invited me to Milan and said, if you would like to have a tour of Milan, Chiara would be happy to take you around. So in some ways, Chiara's father kind of started to put this together. And so it just happened to be, he no sooner made that invitation to me. I think it was 2 or 3 hours later, I got a call from a clinic host in Poland, because that's where I was going to in about a week or whatever. And they canceled. They had some virus going through the barn, and they couldn't bring horses in or out. And so I contacted Chiara, and I said, your father invited me to Milan. He said, you'd be my tour guide, and I have this weekend open. And sure enough, she says, yeah, come on. And that's how it started. And so we've been married. We got married in 2017 and on St. Patrick's Day, and in Mexico. And so
Wow.
that's so I'm living about my 4th year in Italy now. So, and I do have a residence there. I'm in the healthcare system, so it's why I can travel back and forth at this moment from United States to Italy. So anyway, that's my wife's side of the family. That's Piero and Rosella, and they've been just amazing. They're all Milanese people. They've been born and raised there. Chiara's born and raised in Milan, and so and we live right in the city center there. So we really have a great lifestyle as far as the city life is concerned. And so that's there. And of course, everyone knows my mother and father, Paulette, and my brother Mike and Dave. My mother's worked for me for probably ever since I've had a ranch, and she's gone to all the shows and so anyway, I've been blessed with a really great family on both sides.
For sure. And she's watching tonight too, so I love that. So
yeah. Hi, Mama.
There you go. She was giving you a shout out a while back ago. How about just let me show you the pictures of Milano real quick. Conan, why don't you show Tia and I we all got to visit, or Tia and I went to Italy, I think. I know I've been there several times, and it's such a beautiful country over there. It's picturesque. Bear and I have clinicked over there. Leslie Lang and I have clinicked over there a few times together, but you can't beat Italy,
Well, what these pictures that you're seeing, it's our backyard. We actually after dinner, we take an evening walk, and we walk to these. This is the castle and the church, and we're there in 10, 15 minutes. So it's right in our neighborhood. So we're really blessed to such a beautiful place.
So let's add a couple more. So I want to do 2 things. One, tell me about you two, like how you see them and how you've met them and all that. And then talk about your vacationing, like where you like to go scubaing and everything like that.
Well, the U2 thing it's more like it's very spiritual to me. My first concert was when I was 17 or 18, and
wow,
in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I've probably done about over 200 shows, over 200 U2 shows. I've followed every tour, and I'm such a fanatic about U2 is when they just did a tour in 2019 through New Zealand and Australia. When they released those tour dates, I totally rescheduled my entire Australia tour to match up with the cities where they were touring. So everywhere that they went, I made sure my clinic was there for that specific set of dates. So I'm quite a fanatic. In fact, Anna, the lady who designs the jackets for the horse show, she designed me. I have a little concert jacket that I wear, a little U2 jacket, and she designed quite a fan. And been able to see them in person many times. So in casual environments.
And then I think Tina was going to ask you this too. How do you unwind from the clinics? I mean, I know you vacation a little bit. Can you tell us about where you usually go and stuff?
Well, probably probably the most beautiful place in the world, because I've been to a lot of places. It's French Polynesia, and if anybody doesn't know where French Polynesia is, it's one of the islands of French Polynesia is Bora Bora. But I think I've been there 8 years. When I worked the Australia tour, I would typically, go there on my winter break, and so I did that almost every year, and really enjoyed a really great environment down there. It's one of the most beautiful places, I think, in the world, and that's kind of where I certified to do scuba diving. And the scuba diving thing is it's my only hobby, and it's one thing that when you get under the water, there's two things to focus on: it's buoyancy and your breath, and it's a great learning curve because we get so busy and your brain is doing 100 different things. Well, you can't do that. You can't do that when you're diving. So I enjoy it because it really forces me to kind of focus on one thing, and I've done a lot of diving. So
there you go.
Yeah, very passionate about the diving.
I love that. How about, I'm going to switch over real quick because I got about 2 more topics to go and then we'll be done. How about, they always ask me about the styles of European horse shows versus American horse shows and the horses and riders. Can you compare them in the last few years versus 10 years ago, perhaps?
Oh, it's because I've been competing in Europe. I think my first major competition in Europe was 2010, and from 2010 till now, the evolution of the quality is incredible. Just because a lot of not only did a lot of horses come from the States, but the breeding programs. Karen Prevedel would probably be one of the best examples of breeding programs. She's really took on a lot of responsibility to breed horses in Europe. David Massenet from France. You got people like that have mares from the States, that have semen from the States. So not only did Europe start to gain a lot of horse flesh from the United States, but Europe then they then started breeding their own horses with really great quality. So the quality, you just can't. I mean, it's tenfold from 10 years ago. I mean, it's really quite impressive on how fast Europe has improved.
I'd talk about that too. Like, I think that the higher 20% on the top has got so much bigger now from when I first started going to Europe. There's a lot more people, a lot more stock there. They've seen my patterns a little bit more over there. So I've seen trail evolve quite a bit in Europe. So I'm pretty proud of that.
That's because
made my little trail tour.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
People are more educated. People are a lot more educated, and it's very impressive. It's really enjoyable to show in Europe. Quality is there. There's a good atmosphere. Horses are sound. They don't start the horses early over in Europe, so you see a lot. The soundness of the horses is definitely different there versus the United States.
I can tell you one thing here. The thing that I always get a thrill out of when I go to Europe is when they tell me Mark Schaefer was here before. Mark was here last month. So I feel like I'm following behind you. So I feel like I know I'm going the right direction. So I definitely click a few places you do. So one more. How about to younger trainers in the pleasure horse industry, and then how about just promotion or how they can get ahead in the industry? Do you have anything you can add to that or say something about?
I could present that in two ways. First, obviously there's a lot of financial stress in the horse industry. So and you can only do this so long. So my advice to the young folk out there is make sure you have a financial plan. Don't think you're going to do it when you're in your 30s. Don't think you're going to do it because you have a nice place and you're going to retire off of your place. That's not enough. So, for you young folks out there, set aside $250 a month, put it into a fund, put it into a stock, invest your money because you're going to need it. That's something that I've tried to do most of my career is have some type of cushion at the end, and that's something that a lot of people don't do, and not only in the horse business, but that's advice on the financial side or the business side of the horse business. But what I learned myself and what I wasn't good at is you got to be approachable, and you get some success and you get a bit cocky and you get confident, which is all good, but you become non-approachable. And when you're non-approachable, you're losing business. So for the young people out there, yes, you got to be confident, you got to be cocky, but you got to be approachable. People have got to feel like it's okay to come up and talk to you. And that is something that you see that's missing a lot of the times. You could be approachable in your own circle, but to be somewhere where someone doesn't know you, if you're not approachable, you're never going to meet that person. And that person could send you a horse in training, could buy a horse from you. So that would probably be the two lessons is think about your financial future and be approachable as much as you can. That is a lesson I learned early, and it was very rewarding to me to get a hold of that.
What do you think is in store for Mark Schaefer, Mechanics in Motion, in the next 4 or 5 years?
Well, I've got one more major project to do, and that's this theory book, and I'm going to keep that under the wraps. It's never been done, and it's going to be the best project I've ever done in my career. Anna Almadeo is working with me on that, and we're putting together. We're almost finished with the first part of it, and but that when that thing gets released, it'll be for sure the best thing I've ever done. I'm going to continue to do the clinics. I'm obviously going to scale down this COVID thing. We haven't talked about COVID, and I know nobody wants to talk about it, but I promise you, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's forced me to slow down, and it's made me understand that I can slow down because as you know, you can relate to this. You just get in that habit of going to the airport, booking dates, going to the airport, booking dates, going to the airport, and you never say no. And you get in that habit. I've been in that habit for 20 years, and I'd still be in that habit if it wasn't for COVID. So it really kind of forced me to understand that I can slow down a little bit. And that's what I'm going to do. Just be a little bit more selective, work for the people that I've established really great relationships with, and continue with my New Zealand and Australia deal. Obviously, Europe's going to be strong for me for a long time, and take care of the people that I take care of in the United States. But that's what's happening. And just to finish that up, judging. So I've got a pretty big gig that I'm going to do in April, and that'll be my first really big event, and that'll probably help me get my foot in the door for some other larger events. So I'm going to put a little focus on the judging, just as a contribution back to the industry.
Did during the COVID, did your luggage talk to you any, like mine did?
My luggage looked at me and said, "What did I do wrong? Why do you have me downstairs? And why do I never get to get out?" That's what my luggage told me.
Yeah, mine was like there's like different ones I like to use, and they were like, "Wow, we've been here forever." Like, what's going on here? Pretty crazy stuff. Okay, my last question. Okay, before you like slow down all the way, do you think we can do a clinic together one day?
Oh, it's going to happen. I think we're doing that. So soon as the borders open back up, we're going to organize that. That's not even a conversation. That's going to happen.
That's on my bucket list. That's on my bucket list.
That's going to happen.
I'll do one with you. Okay, Mark Schaefer. I think that's it for tonight. I think you want to say anything else? You want to cover anything else?
I do. I'd like to say I'm humbled to be on the show. You've had a lot of amazing people on the show, and I'm happy to be on that list. So I'm really humbled to be here, and I really thank you for the invite. And And I see it looks like there's a ton of people that are viewing.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to say
yeah,
thank you to everybody for taking your time to listen to us. And I think it's great what you're doing with this show. So
yeah, it's fun to watch you on Facebook. I watch you fly one direction. I'm flying a short direction, and you know, we love what we do, and we're doing a good job doing it, and helping people, and you know, we just love the industry. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, and the show is a branch of it. You know, I mean, I love talking to y'all and asking you guys questions that we didn't. That's why this show's here, because of COVID, right? We would have never done this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we gotta learn about everybody's history, and I thought that's golden to have this on video somewhere, right? We have the history of Mark Schaefer now, you know, and I love that. I love that to pieces. I so appreciate you being on, though. Okay.
Yeah,
okay, Cam. Bring in some music. We'll let Mark go to dinner. I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I'll see you when you get back here, perhaps. Okay.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Mark.
Okay. Ciao. Ciao.
Where's that Kona Cam production? You still with me, Kona Cam?